Hey, potential sponsor. Did you know that each episode of RecLess averages over 500 listens? That's 500 potential agencies that you could influence or reach. Over all of our social media and listening platforms, we have over 2,200 subscribers and followers. Not bad for this little passion project of ours from 3 professional work friends. This spot right here could be yours. Not only would you reach the Parks and Rec masses, but your contribution goes directly to supporting Parks and Rec professionals in our field through scholarships for professional development. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 6 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, 3 professional friends, if you know, from around the country, bringing you a surprise guest each episode. This project has made an impact, educates others, and continues to support a growing community. Thank you for being part of it. This is RecLess.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good, man. Cranking along. Another Friday.
Same. Yeah. We got some Parks lady today.
Shane?
Yo, am I the host?
Yes, you are. Glad you could say hi to Tom before you worried about being a host.
Hello, Thomas.
Hi, Shane. Did Tottenham win whatever game we were talking about last week?
No, they got destroyed. It was
Okay.
It was
Figured you-
devastating.
I figured you might be wearing your shirt for just like you did with the Seahawks for a week or two.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wear my team shirts even when they disappoint me.
Yeah. Okay.
Devastating. Brian will be very disappointed. He needed that win, and we did not provide it.
When you say they got crushed, what are we talking? Because soccer sometimes that's like 3-1. Was it worse?
4-1.
Okay.
And in soccer, you play teams home and away. There's 20 teams in a league, and you play each team home and away. So there's 38 games. We lost to them in Arsenal 4-1, and then they came back and beat us at our house 4-1. So we've lost to them 8-2 in a combined aggregate. So yeah, we've been handled by them, unfortunately. I hope Parks Lady isn't an Arsenal fan, or I'm getting off the call.
Well, you can ask during round rapid fire. Okay.
Go.
You guys good?
Yeah.
Well, welcome to RecLess, guys. Episode 103, podcast focusing on the industry of park and rec through 3 very close friends in different parts of the country. My name is Jay Tryon. I'm your host today, and I do have Shane Mize and Tom Venniro. What's going on, guys?
Just glad to be a very close friend today.
Very close, man.
Yeah.
It's so good. Man, the warmth that just washes over us when you're, addressed correctly. Very close.
I might change it every week. We'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
next week something different.
Okay.
It's good being the
Wait.
warmth of Jay every now and then, isn't it? Man,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fleeting, but
It was a real smooth opening too.
I'm going to continue the warmth. And, we got a new season. We're in a new year. We just saw each other and hung out a couple weeks ago in person. And we've done a lot of business talk lately. Just, we did a wrap up. We had a couple episodes for this season so far. But we haven't really talked about something that you're working on that you're really excited about, just as we approach, early 2026. So what is a project or initiative that you guys are working on that you're excited about that you want to share? And if you don't want to go first, I will go since I've already prepped this question. And I know I've mentioned it a couple times on other episodes, but we have some bomb projects that we're working on. But our very first one that is going to be completed in 2026 is something I'm probably most excited about. It's Caldwell Park, and we've done a complete renovation of this park. It's not done yet, so I shouldn't say we've done it because it's still in progress. But we're adding the very first splash pad for the city. So people are excited about that, adding our first accessible playground. And then we're actually putting a cover over 2 basketball courts. This has been a park that's had in the past 3 courts that have just always been busy. But I think putting some coverage over this is going to be awesome, both with rain, obviously, but also in the heat. In the summertime when it's 100 degrees, it'll be a very different atmosphere playing under a roof of basketball versus not having that. So a lot of great things happening at that park. And that one is going to have a grand opening just in about 4 months away. So end of June, early July. So counting down the days for that one. But what you guys got?
I think we talked a little bit about some of them, so I'll try to transition and pivot into something different. But we have a splash park, the first one in our community opening this year, and obviously the splash park season here is a lot different than Shane. Probably it's year round, and
Sometimes it feels like
Jay,
it.
yours is a little longer, but ours is really a short window. It's May, Memorial Day is typically when they try to open. And Jay, the weather patterns here, even around that time of year, you're lucky to get 70-degree days, 65-degree days that's a win. You could still get 50. And anyhow, so it's a short season, but it's been long awaited. It's a project that's been in the making for 3 years. Unique, great design, and we're just kind of wrapping that up. So I think I talked about that. But one thing we just completed, and we've talked about this with Johnny O and some other individuals, and that's celebrating success and celebrating other individuals. And so we just had a deadline for some local award submissions, and we'll find out maybe as early as this afternoon while we're on the call or early next week. But either way, one of those submissions that we put forward that we're excited about, and Shane, you know a little bit about this from our session that we co-presented for Connecticut, is our Barkyard Dog Park. And it opened up with a leash cutting in May. I want to say it was May 9th of last year. So it's very new, very in its infancy, but you've experienced this, Shane, and Jay, I'm sure you have some experience with dog parks. It was the first in our community. It was all self-designed, self-engineered, everything pretty much but the fence was performed and constructed by municipal forces. So very excited to be able to celebrate that from that perspective. It's a beautiful design, beautiful space. But in the process of nominating this, we were able to really communicate and talk to some of the users and some of the individuals that it's impacted. And I knew, and you take these sessions where you might go and work with a group that creates dog park spaces, and they talk about the impact that it has on a community, obviously, in addition that it has on the dogs. It's wild to hear the stories of the individuals who use it. And I don't have dogs currently. We did, but not at this time. And so I'm not experiencing it firsthand, just being able to witness it from my position. And the outreach, the outpour of how thankful individuals are to have this, the bonds and relationships created beyond the actual dogs themselves. It's great. It's one of those you can go back on and really try to justify and fight with the politics and the things that might drag you down a little bit. And then you go into this process of talking to the people who are impacted by what we do on a day-to-day basis, and it makes it real. It makes it feel like I think we all feel that there's an incredible meaning and impact to what we do. So really excited to see how that goes and hopeful. But even if we aren't awarded, it was amazing to learn from these individuals and see what it's doing for people's lives and how it's impacting and really elevating that quality.
That's cool. I think it's neat to hear that because obviously every different resident and group that we serve, they want something different. And the dog community is no different than that. And, the folks that want the splash pad, the folks that want the pools, the folks that want the trails. And, I can speak to that. When we were in Indian Trail, we built the first dog park in Indian Trail. And it was like, you would have thought we just built like Disneyland.
Yeah.
Because they had to travel like outside of Indian Trail and drive 20 minutes, or in some cases they didn't go to a dog park because there wasn't one that they wanted to drive to because it was too far. So it's great.
Yeah, one of the great stories that I heard from that, and I'll keep it real quick. This group or a group of individuals started meeting, and they created a Facebook page that isn't even ours for our dog park, which I don't know if we feel great or not so great about that because but it's really good publicity. People connect. They post pictures, obviously, when they're there, but also post meetups. Hey, we're going to be here doing this. They have their own mini events. And even one individual said how the bonds that they made during the spring and summer led to them having a Friendsgiving with the individuals that they met at the dog park, people that
That's
they had,
cool.
no prior relationships with.
That's really cool. It feels like a cop out, and maybe I won't completely go with this answer because I've talked about the rec center for a little bit, but we got to do our topping off. The only reason it's really kind of fresh on my mind is we did our topping off ceremony, which I'd never done, even though I've built some rec centers. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the phrase. I really wasn't, but topping off is, from what I've been told, is a term that a lot of times the construction teams celebrate in and of themselves. And it's essentially when they lay, most of the time, it's the top beam that they lay in the building. And that's kind of this visual to the construction teams and the subcontractors that we can kind of see now. We've kind of gotten to the top and now we're building everything internally. And it's just a moment where that team celebrates. And normally the crews all sign this beam and it goes up, and obviously it's covered ultimately with masonry and everything else, but it's kind of their way, those 100, 200, 300 construction men and women that are on the site, to celebrate. And so City Hall did a topping off, and the construction crew signed a beam, and then the other side, the city staff signed a beam, and we kind of made it more of like an internal external thing. And so when the rec center happened, when the rec center got to the top, we got to the top of the rec center this Monday. And so we did a topping off, and we invited all the construction crews, and we had breakfast burritos, and every one of those guys. The topping off ceremony is cool for the construction guys because that day, first of all, they get to see a bunch of city slickers show up in hard hats that don't fit them, and brand new, steel creased, reflective jackets that we've never worn our whole life. You know, we look like, I always say we look like the people at the rodeo that only put on Western wear once a year, rodeo day or whatever, you know, and the actual cowboys are looking at you like, look at this guy. He just took the tags off this shirt and put it on. It's kind of what we all look like. We're walking around, city staff, city leadership, council are there, and we're obviously not in our environment, but we load those guys up with breakfast tacos. Those guys are eating 3 or 4 tacos. They're excited. They're not working at the moment, so it's great to have a little break. We did a raffle. We obviously had to program it so that they had a bunch of sponsors provide gift cards and things. And those guys, no one of our staff, but every one of the construction guys got their name in a raffle. So they got to enjoy that. But we did our topping off. We have this patio at the rec center that's got this wood awning. And so what we did was our topping off wasn't the steel beam. Traditionally, it was the wood beam. And we had everyone sign it. Then we kind of got to do a little bit of a hard hat tour of the first floor, not the other 2 floors, but just walking in this rec center. I've said it before, it's the second largest in the state once it's built, and someone will beat that eventually. Someone already has. Obviously, it's not the largest. And, you know, by 10 years from now, there'll be 15 of them bigger than this, but it's fast in there. You don't realize, you know, I'm sure when y'all bought a home for the first time and you're like, wow, this is big, or you buy property or space and you walk into something you've built, and you kind of get a scale for the first time that I've been working on this rec center for 7 years, and walking in and just seeing what the lobby looked like and what the senior room would look like, and the 4 basketball courts and the indoor pool, all the stuff that was on the first floor, the turf room, and seeing the second floor starting to come into play. Like, obviously there was nothing in the second floor yet, but you could see like the scaffolding for floor 2. It was just, it was really cool, put it in perspective. And the cool thing, that lead in or the follow-up of that, next Monday, we're talking to council about a bond for 2026. So we did a bond for 2020. You know, we had 150 almost plus million of projects between the 100 million there and the 50 million for 4B with the rec center and park improvements. And 6 years later, I'm asking for another 50 million for parks specifically. And we had someone do an analysis of the park bonds at this last election cycle, and like 80% failed. And the fact that the city is still willing to put that out in front of the voters, with the knowledge that if it doesn't work, anything that the voters have voted on for a GO bond, you can't do for the next couple years afterwards, shows that our council's very proud of the work my team's put in, and is willing to say, yeah, I think there's enough proof of concept from the 2020 bond and everything we've added that a 2026 bond has a chance to pass as well. And so it's exciting time to be in Pflugerville. It's exciting to see some of the stuff going up, all the stuff going vertical. Yeah. We're working on the destination play in the lake, but in even all that, it's cool that there's already a 2026 bond with 50 to maybe 65 million plus. And that council's like, yeah, I think what we've seen, we're willing to go even that much more into debt for other quality of life initiatives. So pretty cool. We'll see what happens, but pretty cool.
That's exciting. I just got 2 follow-up questions, Shane. One, with it going fast and you're seeing really the work being done, we may have talked about this before, but what's the timeline now? What's the estimated timeline of completion? Not necessarily open, but what's
Yeah.
that? When do you feel like it'll be ready to go for tours and, as close as you are to be able to open? The second one is, did you sign RecLess on one of the beams?
I didn't. I almost didn't sign it at all. I had such a moment. Y'all know I have a bit of anxiety sometimes. I had such a moment of not wanting to screw anything up. Like, it almost feels in some ways like, hey, we're celebrating something, but we haven't gotten to the end yet. Like let's I'll keep my name off it until the grand opening, and I would just be happy. I was actually convinced by staff to ultimately sign it because I didn't participate at first. I didn't sign, and ultimately I did. I should have signed RecLess was here. In hindsight, that was a mistake. Maybe I should have just signed RecLess instead of my name. So if it fucked up, I could have blamed all three of us. And we'll be to punch out, so we'll be able to walk through that building probably sometime late October, early November, and
wow.
we'll open. The goal date right now is January 1st, so like New Year's resolution day, new year, new us, new you. Let's open up this brand new facility and get people through. So it's moving really quick.
Nice.
Well, since you said it and you said you've been talking about it for 7 years, I think Tom and I need an invite to the grand opening. And
You know what? That would be awesome. I think I would love to have y'all there. I may need an invite to the grand opening. My city manager put in her notice. I may not be here either. Like we may all be invited to it.
That's funny. Okay, time to move on. We got a great guest that I'm excited about. As Tom had already said it, Parks Lady is with us today. Diving into some information to give you guys some hints. Our guest has served in a variety of leadership roles for over 20 years. Started in recreation as a 19-year-old teaching step dance to girls in a summer program. Currently, they serve as a member of the NRPA Board of Directors. They currently serve as an instructor for NRPA's Director School and has also previously served as a regent for NRPA's Revenue Development and Management School. They have previously served as the president of the National Recreation and Parks Ethnic Minority Society. They are a avid basketball fan and has been a player and coach for about 20 years. They are a grandmother of 2 children. One of their career goals was always to be a hip hop artist. So probably in line with one of Shane's goals there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of similarities. Step dance instructor for sure.
Basketball, right?
player. Basketball player. Yeah.
Our guest is skilled with working with teams to address organizational issues, along with increasing productivity and ensuring people can meet long-term strategic initiatives. In a previous role, our guest managed $25 million budget and is highly skilled in financial management and developing partnerships. Our guest is a tremendous and just very, very strong, influential leader that has inspired thousands by helping them grow both in their confidence and also change a culture in our profession. You guys got any ideas?
Yeah, did their initials LW?
I see I'm wondering if Tom's got one too before I say the next thing.
Well, I understand the initials. I don't have one outside of that, but if I know the initials that Shane's referring to.
Here we go. Well, today's guest is a senior consultant with Barry Dunn and the CEO of Women in Parks and Recreation. Please welcome Lakita Frazier.
Oh shit!
Hey.
I was thinking. Well, I was not thinking W.
Yeah, because it used to be
Watson.
It's
Okay.
Frazier now.
Yes.
Okay.
I
was like, shit, did I not know her name? Okay.
No, I knew what you were talking about, but
Me too. Yes. Hey
that's
guys,
great.
man, it's
Hello.
so good seeing you guys and listening. And Shane, it just gives me so much joy to hear the great things that are happening, of course, in Pflugerville. And man, Jason Gank just loves the work that he was able to do. And every time we turn around, he's going to use Pflugerville as an example. So
I love that.
great work. Great
I
work.
appreciate that.
that's awesome. Well, Lakita, thanks so much for joining us today. Obviously, I didn't even go through every possible thing I could have.
We'd have been here all day.
I could have kept going and going and going, but I did mention a variety of different committees and boards and educational opportunities that you've been involved with. And I just want to start off with just like what has motivated you to be so involved and give back so much to our profession?
I'm a Parks and Rec kid, like literally. I grew up playing on a playground in my neighborhood. The name of the park was Ida Easter, and it used to be an old one-room African American school that was then later on turned into a park. So I spent so much time on that playground and on that basketball court and then in the recreation center. It changed the trajectory of my life. I could have been making all kinds of decisions. And so my love for recreation and parks, when I fell into the field, like most of us do, while I was in college working on my degree in social work, it just was the perfect fit for me. And I am passionate about it because I had a phenomenal mentor. His name was Randy Smith. And he was the first CPRP that I met when he came to Suffolk, Virginia. And he was like, okay, Lakita, I want you to join the Virginia Recreation and Park Society. And, but he said something that stuck with me. He said, it's one thing to be a member, but it's another thing to be active. And that was back in the 1900s. And so with that, I've just always wanted to remain connected to the best practices and to the core of why we do what we do so that I can help inspire other young professionals to get into the field, stay into the field, and just help change lives through recreation.
That's cool. I think we can all probably like relate to some degree with usually a lot of times it comes down to a mentor, like you said.
Yeah.
And that's why we continue to go even further with it because we wouldn't necessarily be where we are without those mentors. So it's like this, that just almost a feeling that you have to give back just because you're thankful for being able to give the opportunity that you were given. So it's that obligation to some degree.
Yeah, you and I share Dirk Richwine. I'm pretty sure some other people. I thought I thought I was the only one.
That's how he made you feel.
Feel like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
With someone like Dirk, I think so many people would say that, oh man, we'd always have lunch every conference, but like he'd have lunch with everyone every conference. But it was like he made it feel like you were his main contact that week and that day, and which is amazing because I felt a strong connection, which everyone did, and I love that man to death for sure.
Yeah.
There's that saying that there are some people that make you feel like they're important, and then there's also people you interact with that make you feel like you're important.
Yeah.
Dirk made you feel like you were important. Dirk made you feel like you were the only person he was mentoring, that he was working with, that he was talking to, that he was pouring into. That was what was special about Dirk, for sure.
You're absolutely right, Shane. And I was down in Ackworth, Georgia. Shout out to the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association. They have for the last 2 days done a women's leadership summit. And while I was there, I talked about something that was important is that, there's mentors and then there's sponsors. And a lot of women, we have mentors, but more so than we have sponsors to get into these spaces. And Dirk was more than a mentor. He was actually a sponsor. I never would have saw revenue development school if it was not for Dirk. Like he literally called me and was like, hey, you need to apply. I'm like, dude, I don't like numbers. Like, I don't want to do that. But I recall just being in his space for that year, and he was just finishing up Capra, but that door was opened. And he helped me get into a space that I wouldn't have gotten into. So definitely shout out to him, not only as a mentor, but as a sponsor. So I try to be like that, guys, like you all are.
Well, I appreciate that. We appreciate that, but I've seen what you've done, and you have paid all of that back forward tenfold. And maybe it was a good transition piece to talk about your time in Georgia. You said sponsors and mentors, and I think we've had this conversation maybe once on the podcast, so not very often, about the Women in Parks and Recreation group. And you talk about that. We've all seen the impact that has had on individuals. Incredible. And then some of those individuals see and witness what you're doing, and you've taken the lead on that. And so you've given back so much. Can you talk about what that's meant to you, and what are you doing with that? You said you were in Georgia, and what is really, from Lakita's perspective, the end game there, the goal there? I mean, I'm pretty sure I could guess at it, but I want to know from someone who's really doing the work and putting the time in.
Well, I got to give a shout out to the women that helped start this thing and help sustain it. And you guys all know Katie, Katie and Carolina. Katie actually, I met Katie because of you, Jay. You had her do a session on it when you guys were in
Yeah.
Indian Trail, and
Love
that
that.
stuck with me from that branding perspective. So, connecting with Katie, then with Melanie, and just I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it looked like. And then I bumped into Lisa Paradis back in 2019 at the Baltimore conference when Women and Parks and Recreation was really kicking off. And she was like, you got to scale this thing. I don't know what it is. I just wanted a space where women could connect with mentors and sponsors. That was truly the crux of why this thing started. And so when I watch it now going from 89 women in August of 2019 to now 13,000 women, and we're in 32 countries. It is the women there, they do what they do. I just happen to just be in that space. But when we talk about Endgame and where we're going, I have another good friend, Katie Grote out of Colorado and Apex. And I'm weird like that. Like when Women in Parks and Recreation started, I literally went through LinkedIn and just started connecting with as many women that I could to really push it. Well, anyway, she asked me a question about 3 weeks ago. She was like, Lakita, well, what are you going to do with Women in Parks and Recreation? And it dawned on me, and I think it's because of this whole consultant and data. I said, we need to understand what are the true issues that women in our field are experiencing, not the state of women in Parks and Recreation, the organization, but the state of women in the field of recreation and parks. And so I threw that idea out there, and then she connected me with someone from Virginia Tech. And then I was also connected with a sponsor that is going to sponsor the entire nationwide survey. And that's because I need to know, Tom, it's one thing to have a group of people and we're all excited, but what are the true barriers? What are the true needs? And how can we support women and departments throughout the country through sustainable growth and support? So, yeah, so my end game, hopefully I'll get to retire and just really do Women in Parks and Recreation. But right now, it's like I just need to know what is it that women really need and want from this organization that's really about them.
Well, I can imagine too, and we are a very small piece of the whole Parks and Recreation pie, but we talk about how the podcast or other little initiatives, we didn't really see them lifting the way that they did, and yours is lifted too. You just told us the numbers.
Rocket ship.
It's amazing. It's just I can't imagine that you imagined that that's where it would.
No, but when I walked out of that room yesterday, and the number of women that came to me and said, hey, you gave voice to what I was thinking. Because it's not by no means, I want to be very clear. I have a son. The men that have helped me throughout my career have been the best allies. But there are some barriers. And so I was encouraging them to think a little broader. Jay, you know it, and you guys, Tom, Shane, sometimes you got to be able to move to get into some of these leadership positions. It's more difficult when you are a woman and you have kids. You just can't say to your husband, hey, I'm ready to roll. There's a balancing act. So how can we prepare women for those types of shifts and to create those supports and to give voice to it? Just makes me feel good. But then I also have to remind myself that everyone's not ready to take that leap. We're in a political state across the country where people are nervous about standing up and speaking about certain things. So I try to balance it with not trying to put people in a position where we're in conflict, but how can we collaborate? Because our recreation, our residents, our open spaces deserve all of us to be at our full authentic selves.
We talk about the website, it's grown, the group, it went, and those numbers are incredible. But I know you also have had now in-person, conferences and gatherings. And like, was that something that was planned or thought of from the beginning? Or was that something that just organically came along because there was a demand for it? Or, talk about that a little bit, because obviously like the Facebook group is what everyone's known for sure, but then it blew up to be even more than that, which is awesome.
Well, I will say I gave this shout out to the Georgia ladies yesterday. They had the first Women's Leadership Summit focused on recreation, women in recreation and parks. And I was their first keynote. And so once I got down there and I saw this movement, out of respect, I said, how can we duplicate this in other communities so that women that can't travel, we know that training dollars are the first to get cut regardless when we're looking at the balancing act of our resources. So we wanted to be able to be where people were. So we support Georgia And then when I came back to my home state of Virginia, they were like, okay, Lakita, we'll roll with you. So we did our first one here in 2024, and we're now sold out for our 2026. And I have a meeting with some gals from Colorado, Texas, and California. So, like, our goal is to go where the women are, support what they're doing, to not duplicate the efforts, but to just provide that synergy so that, because it will be great to just do one national, but we recognize, and even Maryland did their first one this year. So it's spreading and it's exciting.
We'll be right back.
Hey, listener, is it time to DTR this relationship and make you a sponsor? I don't even know what the hell that means, but I do know that each episode of RecLess averages over 500 listeners. That's 500 potential ears attached to agencies that you could influence or reach. Over all of our social media and listening platforms, we have over 2,200 subscribers, and it's growing. This spot right here could be yours. Not only would you reach the Parks and Rec masses, but your contribution goes directly to supporting Parks and Rec professionals in the field through scholarships for professional development. Contact us at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details. Okay, now back to the show.
I have a new parks board, that it turns over every couple of years, and it's mostly a new board. And we were talking to him last night. We were presenting to him, and I was talking to him a little about philosophy of our department. And my team knows that I am not. I've also talked on this podcast about the mortality of a career, and that I feel like at times I'm towards the end of it, not towards the start of it. And you start to look back at what you've accomplished and what you still want to accomplish. And the mortality is good because there's a sense of urgency of what's still left to accomplish and how much time do I have left to maybe get to those things. And so I don't think I was always an outcome. I think at times I was probably a little bit more outcome based in my leadership. Like, I thought about the outcome first. What I'm proud of in some ways is that I've kind of drifted over to the intention side. And that's what I was telling this commission, is that I'm not necessarily focused on outcomes anymore. What we're doing is a love offering to Pflugerville. And I don't necessarily care if 700 people show up or 7,000 people show up. It's our offering, it's our staff's offering, love and devotion to this community, and what it'll be is what it'll be. But when you're an intentions based mindset, what you see is exactly, I think, what Women in Parks movement has become, which is, y'all didn't set a bunch of outcomes. You three ladies, when you started, said in 3 years we want to have 4 national sessions or 4 2-day workshops, and we want to be at 20,000, because all that stress can be debilitating in some ways in the growth.
So right.
But if you just said, I feel like there's something here, and let's just start it and see what happens, and as it grows, we'll foster it or whatever. I love what it's done. We talk about this podcast, and we had a chance. Our wrap up of season 5 just posted today, and I was walking today and I got to listen to the first half of it. We had no outcomes based on this. Like, we were just trying to do something probably selfish more than anything. We just wanted to talk a little bit more and have some cool conversations with people. It was very intentional based. We weren't focused on outcomes, and what's become of it is insane.
Awesome.
So I say all that to say, you've been a leader in so many different capacities. The Women in Parks movement, your Park and Rec professional career. Now you're at Barry Dunn. I feel like you would be an excellent source of a leadership temperature taker. You come into so many different agencies, and you get to see how that director talks to the team, and you get to see how that director maybe projects to Barry Dunn. This is what we want to see. I imagine Tom J and I have all talked about consulting at some capacity, and just what does that look like on the other side of these careers? And is that something we're even interested in? And there are things that we are very intrigued by. There's things that we're like, oh, I don't know if that's interesting or not yet, or that maybe that didn't appeal to me yet. But I think being exposed to multiple leaderships and being that temperature taker of leadership, I'd love to get your opinion on what is leadership trending towards in 2026. What is these departments you're working with? What kind of bubbles to the top as far as leadership? What are you surprised by from leadership? What are you starting to see dip off? Maybe it's leadership used to look like this 20 years ago, and now you don't even see that anymore. I would love to just take your temperature on what leadership looks like in our industry as someone that's just been exposed to it in multiple different settings.
Right now, it's really looking like succession planning.
Mm.
Everyone, they're looking at where they are with their staff and their teams, and then how to prepare for those shifts, whether they're resources, because we're seeing cuts, and so people are having to shift. We're still doing more with less. Unfortunately, that's what we suffer with in Parks and Recreation often. But I'm seeing people starting to look at how do I prepare the next generation behind me? Because we have a lot of individuals my age that are starting to transition out. I just turned 50 a couple of years ago. I'll be 52 this year. And now I'm seeing there are a lot of 30, 40. I was 26 when I first became a director. That was almost 30 years ago. And so what I am seeing is that you have some directors that are really starting to take what's going to be next. Kind of what you just talked about, Shane. Like, is this consultant thing for me? You'll be surprised how many conversations that I also have about individuals that are looking at that. From the other perspective, what I'm seeing is a lot of individuals are truly going after the importance of accreditation and certifications for their teams, where in the past it was, I think it was more stagnant, but now I'm seeing with every RFP that I have, at least 80% of them, I'll say not every, so 80%, the top is, we want to be CAPRA accredited. We want a roadmap to help us get there. And then
they're using Barry Dunn to guide that process at some capacity?
There's some capacity now, but I'll keep it 100 with you. I'm a little funny acting when it comes to the work. Like as a department head, and you guys know that's your work. That's how you're setting your team up for success. So I only come in and I evaluate where you are, and I help you identify what policies and procedures you may be missing. I even will identify from the program perspective and ensure that all the pieces of your master plan will meet your accreditation. But we do not do it for you. But I will set you up for success and connect you to the resources because I believe in the best practices. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the succession planning, the thriving towards accreditation and certifications for team members, as well as more organizational and staffing assessments. That wasn't usually a regular part of what I was seeing in master planning, but now people, going back to what I believe is that succession planning and resource allocation, they truly want to understand, are my titles correct? How is our span of control with individuals that we're having report to us? So for me, it's just cool as heck. To really get in and really look, and people do it so differently. Special purpose districts, their titles and the way they approach funding is different from how we have it in municipal. So I truly enjoy, Shane, just watching that transition. But again, it's really about people wanting to be prepared for the future with the best practices and the best people.
And I saw Jay unmute, but before he asked, are they doing that as because there's a time clock. People will know I'm not the biggest Capra fan or completely immersed in it, but once you do it, from what I understand, there's a time clock, right? Like you're kind of, or at least there used to be previously.
Yes, it still is when you submit your application.
So are they going to you before the time clock starts?
Before
They're trying
the
to
time
prepare. It's almost like a prep SAT you pay online before you actually have to take your SAT as a kid trying to get into college, right? Like they're trying to, let's see where I'm at.
Yes.
If I'm really ready. Okay. Gotcha.
And in some organizations, they're already accredited, and then they highlight specifically what it is
they'll have a renewal, so they want you, before their renewal.
Yes.
And just to stick with the accreditation topic, because we've talked about that a couple of times. We actually did a lengthy conversation in our wrap up.
Okay.
It'll be out next week.
I can't wait.
What are you seeing as the motivating factor for that? Or if you're getting that, like, are you seeing that people from the leadership perspective of their city, that's what they're pushing, or elected officials aren't wanting that? Or is there a mix of reasons of why more agencies in your eyes are going for it now than they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
I think there's a mix of reasoning of it. I think that we have this new level of employees that have come into our spaces that have a higher expectation towards their training and professional development. And so while you have a higher uptake of, and I mean, that's the number one topic in women in parks and recreation, individuals going to get their certifications. So I believe that push of the certifications and the individuals that are becoming certified within the departments are now also pushing themselves in leadership to that next level, which would be full agency accreditation. I'm also seeing where it's the policies and procedures piece. A lot of us, and I was the same way when I started accreditation in my previous position here in Suffolk. I just needed to understand like where all my policies and procedures are and pulling those together. That usually is the starting point of why people want to become accredited, because they want to document the work they're already doing and they want to be recognized for that work.
So Shane should do it, is what you're saying.
Shane, I'll hang out with you, buddy. I promise you. We just kicked off Dallas, the city of Dallas today. So your buddy's there, Jason. He had to go by himself this week.
Listen, just listen to next week's episode and see if you still want to be my friend afterwards. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I promise you, I still want to be your friend.
Well, you
And
can
it's
hang
definitely a
out,
tedious
you
process.
can hang out with Jeff, and Jeff will take care of you.
Yeah, my AD's all in.
Awesome.
I just have a really granular question for that, and we'll move on if we all want to. But you had mentioned before, this is just kind of curious to me, if you all help with master plans.
Yes.
However, you might come into an organization that already has one that was
Yes.
maybe established, who knows, a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever that may be. For the capper pieces, just for me as an agency that is not accredited at this current time, and for agencies who are potentially looking to pursue it, just that example in itself, you had mentioned that there's certain aspects of a master plan that would qualify and some that don't, or you might be missing it.
Yes.
How easy or challenging is it for an organization to adjust their master plan? And they get it adopted, and maybe there's ways to do that, but I'm just curious. And how do you get them with something like that, like a master plan? I think it would be fairly easy to say, okay, well, you're not doing program assessments, so you need to implement program assessments.
Mhm.
However, a master plan may not be as cut and dry and changing and getting up to code. How do you coach up an organization in those types of, I guess, those benchmarks that you have to meet, but it's a little more of a stringent piece?
So whenever we're coming in, and if you've already had a master plan in place and we're doing your master plan update, there are two thoughts around this. So the one, if you're already an accredited agency, you're not going to be changing the major bones of your long-term planning in your master plan. Because of course we're looking at the facilities and the long-term vision and those big things. But when it comes to the action plan, so we encourage individuals to not only, of course, you have your master plan, but we also want you to create your strategic action plan, because that's also a check off the box towards your accreditation. And within that strategic action plan, that's the document that gets to change every 1 to 3 to 5 years based on your department's budget, where your master plan isn't changing, but those goals and objectives that derive from that plan are those that we attack to ensure that your accreditation is maintained. So like your community engagement pieces, your updates to your policy. So we create even templates just to help you stay on track with your KPIs. Because that's another thing that when I first got into recreation and parks, we didn't talk a lot about key performance indicators. You had your monthly reports. And so now we're seeing more data driven. I left that out, Shane. Individuals want more data to tell their story. They want to create dashboards. And that feeds right back into what we were saying, Tom. So you have your things that are in place, your facilities, your level of services, those things that are intact with your master plan. But then we tie on the implementation plan and your strategic plan, so you're able to have some more movement.
And we talked about that a little bit, I think, on the wrap up. In the NFL, we like to compare ourselves to other industries sometimes. NFL is hiring new coaches. Mike McDonald's the coach of the Seahawks, and McVay and Kyle Shanahan, and these younger generation of coaches have come in and made their bones on data. Right. And so they don't have the 30 years experience that a different profile had. They have data to try to make up that gap. And what I think we have said we've seen is young professionals latching on that in this industry as well. So there could be a young professional who's looking at their leadership profile, who's looking at a job, and they're 38 and they'd like to apply for a director job, or maybe 28. Like you and Jay both were younger. I think you and Jay under 30 were both directors at one time. So, and Tom was shortly thereafter. And so you apply for a director's job and you're young, you don't have that 30 years experience. So what is the lever that you're trying to pull in that interview to say, I don't have what this 56-year-old gentleman or female has. I've got data on my side. I'm a data-driven leader. And so I think with AI and some of the other things, that's only skewing towards our youngest generation. They're the most comfortable with that. They're the most comfortable implementing that. Bobby Nance is a whiz at that. But when you go to a Bobby Nance session, you see two types of people. You see young professionals eating it up, literally like ferociously taking notes or typing in their laptop, and you see an old guy like me looking at going, what the hell is she talking about? Like what
What's that
wizardry
dashboard?
what magic has she just spit out? And so that data driven park and rec professional, I think, skews younger. It's an offset to the potential prerequisite that a lot of cities may look at of 15 or 20 years experience. And it's a hack, right? It's one of those ways to jump to the front of a line. And if you're good at it and that agency's seeking it, God bless you. What a great fit, right? And so I think we're seeing the newer young or new professionals latching on to that as the bailiwick for them, the feather in their cap, so to speak. And what they're doing with it, I'm not an AI guy. I'm not necessarily a data-driven guy. I'm probably much more of a feels guy in a lot of ways, and that's to sometimes my detriment even. Jay's laughing at me. But I think it's a whole new generation of people doing Parks and Rec in a whole new way, and it's exciting to see. I sometimes feel so far removed from it, but it's exciting to see where our industry is going and where they're leading us.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because this is just another example of how you and I are just like so opposite.
It's night and day.
I think
I get it.
Probably, and I'm not exaggerating, like 75 to 85% of the decisions I make in my role are based off of data. And I come to all of our staff meetings with a ton of information, and they're sharing information with me so that we can make decisions based off of that. Like that is truly like everything that we're doing right now is data driven.
No, and I get it. And I have Placer. I've literally talked to your department about Placer, Jay. And I think y'all got Placer partly because of my.
Yes, 100%. But Placer is not giving me the information that actually is making me make decisions at all.
Right. I think Placer's what I used.
I think
for my
Placer
data
is helpful for city leadership to see things, but it's not necessarily helping me make a decision on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So,
and that's
to my point. No. To my point, I use data like Placer to supplement my feelings, how I lead I talked about already. I'm intentions based. I'm not outcome based. I rarely talk about, anytime I'm even talking about a huge special event, I don't talk about how many people showed up or what we made or what we didn't make. It's all about who attended, what they saw. It's usually a lot of pictures. It's kids seeing the Easter Bunny for the first time. I don't care if 8,000 people showed up or 7,000 people showed up or 4,000 people showed up or whatever. And so in some ways, I'm definitely not data driven in any way. I don't look at programs.
That's why we get people on our teams.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like we can't be everything to everyone, know? And so I've had to learn that balancing act of, what am I, good at? And then what am I needing someone to step in and help with? And so, Shane, you can't do all that. That's why you grab one of those individuals that's learning and getting certified and doing it and have them lead that process. And then you get to tell the story with all your feelings and pictures.
So we've done 100 of these or more, and you can't ask the same question a million times. And we have trouble sourcing new ones. But I have a question I ask in my interviews a lot. I've never asked anyone here. Okay. So maybe I'm interested in asking this question. Masterclass. Y'all have heard of the Masterclass, right? The app and that you can go through. But more so just the concept Masterclass. When someone says that Masterclass. I think everyone has a Masterclass in them. Every person you meet has a Masterclass in them.
Yeah.
What is yours?
What would be my Masterclass? It would be really honing into your ability I don't know. Do y'all curse up here?
Yeah, girl.
Oh, wow.
It's
Let them
like, I don't know.
fly.
Just
I'm
once.
just saying, I'm
Hashtag
just being,
earmuffs Rooney. We just cleared it. Now you're ready. You can
no,
go. You can say whatever you want.
well, no, I believe my master class will be in how to treat the people that have been placed in your charge. I truly believe I have that skill and that ability to meet people where they are and help them identify where they can continue to grow and willingness to even get beyond their comfort zone. And I've experienced that through various sessions that I've done. And when I come back a year later, someone say, I went and got my CPRP because of you. You told me that it was important and it's going to make that difference. Or when you have someone say, I had to step in and really see how I was speaking to my team in the way that you talked about the importance of lifting people up instead of just always hitting them with the negative. So I do believe that I can teach that in meeting people where they are and helping bringing out the best of them. And I also say that, Shane, because, when I did take that position down in South Carolina, I had 5 team members to uproot their families and to go with me into a place and a space that we had no clue of what was going to happen. And then even after I left and several of them, all of them left actually, everyone left and are in higher positions than what they were from when they came. And so, no, that wasn't Lakita, but that was Lakita helping, giving them another opportunity at a higher level when they were with me, that they weren't afraid to take that leap somewhere else. So I'm proud of my guys. I have a group of guys and a group of gals that have just continued to do great work. So thank you for that.
Love that.
Thank you for that.
That's awesome. A few minutes ago, Shane was mentioning just like younger professionals becoming leaders and, getting in a director role or assistant director role. And a lot of times, when you have someone that's in a position for the first time, it's going to be an introduction to politics. And I know we've all been there. We've all had to deal with politics. What advice would you give someone that is getting into a leadership role for the first time that haven't had to work with elected officials or just general politics of local government? And, how has that helped you grow, just those experiences?
Well, the first thing that I would say before you decide that you want to apply for that position in that community, in that city, or for that special purpose district is to do all of your homework.
Yeah.
It is so important to go beyond just what the job description state. I need for you to really go and pull, and now with AI and Chatter and those and Copilot, pull all of the articles, all of the information that may not be posted on the website so that you can truly familiarize yourself with the culture, not just of the department, but of the entire community. Because
Great
we all
advice.
know that that's really what dictates what you're able to do in your department. Do your homework. The second thing is that once you're in, understanding that elected officials are elected officials. They're not subject matter experts. Yet, nor can we treat them as if they are not. So there is a balancing act of how do I ensure that the goals that they put in front of me, I'm able to actually translate that to my team and get those things done, and figuring out where your pain points are. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes it doesn't. Now, sometimes you'll find yourself, no matter how many hoops you jump through or awards, and I see it a lot across, not a lot, but enough. Whether it's the awards or the accolades, and sometimes the performance evaluation just the week before, and everyone thinks, oh, I'm great. And then now you're faced with a decision on what's next. So what I've learned in my different transitions, personally, professionally, and in meeting and talking to other professionals is you have to know your worth and you have to know when, and it's okay to know when it's time to leave. Choose your battles. Choose your battles because emotionally and physically, is that battle worth where you see yourself in the future? And so I want to encourage individuals that are considering to be a director that it is about where you are in the community that you're serving, but also who you are and what you're willing to be able to do in your leadership role. Being authentic does not mean always keeping it real, but it means being authentic to your values and to your goals. And when they don't align, it's okay to make a different change.
That's really amazing advice. And I really appreciate what you started with about doing your homework, about your community. Most young directors, myself included, when I took that position on, I was 30, Shane. So you were very close.
Yeah.
That was not what I was looking at. I was looking
Me
at a
either.
director position. And
Yeah.
so if I could give a young individual advice, and I don't even mean young is maybe not the right, but new director
Mm-hmm.
advice is to make sure you are understanding what you're getting into in the community holistically, not just in
Yes.
the recreation department. So I have one follow-up question to that because I really love the topic of talking politics and navigating that. And I think we could all probably agree that a big piece of it is relationships, regardless
Yes.
of anything, right? Making
Mm-hmm.
relationships, forming relationships. That said, you can do all that you want to build a relationship. Those individuals, we talked about this on the show, that there's going to be times where they're going to ask you a question and you're going to feel potentially questioned, right? You're going to feel that is there a lack of belief in me, a lack of trust?
Mhm.
What advice do you have individuals to navigate the downside, the negative side of the politics? So I'm not talking federal, I'm not talking about that. I'm
Yeah.
talking,
Locally.
locally,
Oh,
red tape, local elections support, getting caught up in all of it because it's out there. And for me, I guess it's most recently I've had a conversation with one of my team members, and it really came down to the impact? Why are we doing what we're doing? And that helps me get through those moments.
yes.
But there's more than that. And there's a point where you had said that maybe there is a time to leave. Maybe you have to understand that. Just on the day to day, even early on in that director position, what would you say to individuals? It's tough. How would you tell them to get through those days?
Can't take it personally. I had to learn that early. Oh, like I grew up in a family where we've always been able to express ourselves and to be able to share our thoughts without being scrutinized or treated differently. So it was a balancing act for me because just because you're right doesn't always mean you're right. So I had to learn when to say something and when not to. And so I'll say to individual, a newer director is while you don't have to be political, you need to understand the politics. Understand what your city, your county charters say about interaction with council or political or appointed officials so that you can protect yourself as you're doing those interactions. I think that it's extremely important to build those relationships where you can. Every project that I ever got done in the city of Suffolk, and I'm watching as Mark Furlow has completed and he's about to do his own new master plan was because of the relationship that I had with every single council person without sidetracking my city manager, being able to understand that map and what's in their bureaus. We can't, again, get frustrated because they want something. Our job is to give them the information so that they can make the most knowledgeable decision so that we can go and implement. And so when you take yourself out of it and you're like, really? You want me to go put a restroom in a playground that nobody goes to? You have to take yourself out and it's like, you know what? While I think that could use that funding somewhere else, you got to be that balancing out with your team because you don't want them to feel like you're always laying down, but you got to teach them the lesson of politics. So again, you don't have to be a politician, but you need to understand the politics.
My city manager has some initials she writes down, and she presents us as the subject matter experts, the department heads. We make presentations based on our professional opinion, but if it goes a different way, she has the initials written down somewhere where it's not my city, it's theirs. And she has the initials, and so like we did everything we could in this scenario.
Yeah.
If these 7 people don't want it, it's not my city, it's theirs, right? So, and I at times say it's not the city of Shane Mize. That's what I tell my staff. If it was the city of Shane Mize, we'd do a lot of things differently, and so it just is what it is. We are here to serve.
Yes.
I'm trying to do the thing that I think professionally we should do. And it is frustrating when you make a recommendation and they don't go potentially do it. It's even more frustrating when you make a recommendation and they don't do it. And what you were afraid was going to happen absolutely happens. but it's not my city, it's theirs. Even if I live in that town and I normally live in the town I serve, it's not my city. That's the town I live in. It is these 7 people or these elected board or these whoever, it's their responsibility to lead and guide. It's our responsibility to make a recommendation based on all that we know, give our best professional opinion, and it's ultimately theirs,
Yes.
So.
But when it does,
Exactly.
get to that point, just being able to stand there and not move, isn't it hard, right? It's like you're listening to us. So I encourage people to really manage
Oh, yeah.
that emotional side of it because it's hard sometimes. But you need an outlet and you need, again, that mentor or that sponsor that you can call and bounce some of the decisions that you're about to make off to help you work through some things. And that was what happened with me. When this young lady, I'll never forget, she said to me, Lakita, you are right, but it doesn't make you right for the residents. Meaning the decision I was trying to make, it was the right decision, but not based off what they wanted for their city. So thank you for that, Shane. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think it's a lesson learned for so many younger leaders to not take it personal.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely did early on. I don't
Me
anymore,
too.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's out of my control. But,
Yeah.
10 years ago when people were voting no for a project and I'm sitting at a council meeting and I'm just like, why are you voting? Like, what did I do wrong here? But it's not me. It's some people are just not going to support everything that we want to put in front of them.
That's right. Not internalizing it,
Yeah.
and just keep going. And and I'll say this in closing, acknowledge it because I feel like it's so important for us to acknowledge the feelings that we have, but then don't stay in them too long. You got to keep moving.
Yeah. Well, Lakita, we're going to transition to some quick heavy hitters here and some rapid fire. And
Okay.
I'll kick it off first, and then I'll turn it over to Shane or Tom, whoever wants to go next. But I know you gave me some notes on some of your passions, including basketball.
Yes.
And just curious, who's your favorite all-time college basketball team? And do you have a pro team you follow as well?
So my all-time favorite college team would be, I'm going to have to say it was the 2000 and had to be about 2011. I went to Norfolk State University here in Virginia, which is a historically Black university. And that was the year that we actually made it to the big dances. Like we were actually a
Yeah.
part of the national spotlight. And so for me, I still follow my local college team.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the work that they've been able to do and how they recruit young men and women from our community to assist them in getting their education. So I follow my home team. As it relates, no, I can't do NBA. NBA's changed, Jay. It's like, it's not the same, like the players aren't the same. It's just more entertaining than actually the competitive sport that I loved. And of course, it would have been the 1991 Chicago Bulls. Probably was my last favorite basketball team. So I haven't coached in a while. My son's coaching now. I went to his
cool.
game a couple of weeks ago, and I just had to sit there and be quiet. I just wanted to jump up and say,
That's awesome.
hold your hands up, slant your feet, I miss it.
Okay, Lakita, staying on the basketball and coaching topic before Tom gets in here and changes us, you have to place Tom, Jay, and I. You have to build a basketball team around us. What roles are you putting each of us in?
Man, and so I'm not gonna go by height because I'm short. So I would definitely have to be the point guard on this
Perfect.
spot.
Perfect.
Jay's gonna go to the back. We need him as a forward. Tom up top as a guard, and Shane, I gotta throw you in the middle as a center because I really feel like you will
Yeah.
body a whole lot of people
Okay.
trying to get through there.
Let's
I
go.
think you nailed it. I think you nailed that.
like it.
Without really, I've
Are you
never
expecting
seen.
a lot of points out of the center position? You're going to get a lot of points. I'll
You don't
body
have
some
to.
people if you
It's
want me
different
to.
on
Ah!
every team. Different on every
Okay.
team. Okay. We all have roles: sharpshooters, enforcers.
That's fun.
All right, let's shift over to the consultant side of the world.
Yes.
And it's just, if you just kind of off the top of your head, what you miss the most about working in a community, but what you really enjoy most about the consultant side.
I miss what Shane is doing and what you guys are doing, Jay and Tom, with your new facilities. I miss watching a project go from the drawing to the actual building and facility. Like that was always my joy here and even in any position. What That's what I miss. I'm missing that. But what I enjoy most about consulting is the ability to connect with so many professionals from so many different backgrounds and so many different states. It is just amazing how we all approach the work and the facilities. We have some that, of course, have the cemeteries, others that actually have zoos. So I just am exposed to just the diversity of recreation and parks and what people do with the spaces that they have. So that's what I love the most. I actually was in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and their city council just approved us to do their master plan. And so Gabby is the
Gabby.
director there. So I'm extremely excited about being able to be all the way this little girl from Southern Virginia, all the way at Lake Havasu, is truly something that I never thought I would do, but I love it.
Jay, before you go, that we've talked about consulting. Like I said earlier, we've all kind of tossed around what it would be like.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest fear, is that I would work really hard with a community on developing a plan, a vertical CIP, whatever it was, and then have to watch them potentially not do it or not figure out the path, or maybe even me watching saying, oh, I think they could have won that council argument if they'd have led this way, but they led this way. Is, without going too long, because I don't want to screw up rapid fire, is that at all tough to watch something? Because you almost help someone build something and you step away as they run it. And then you almost help someone build something else and you step away as they run it. And you almost get no say in the success or failure of these things. But I'm sure you have an idea of how you would have made sure they were successful. I'm afraid that'd be maddening to me.
No, you can handle it because we make sure that the plan that we give you will even give you short-term wins.
Gotcha.
So even if you are able to at least accomplish the revision of your policies internally, that's a big win because you're creating consistency. Where in my survey, I found your team said they didn't know what the hell was going on. So
Yeah.
then when you take those small wins, they will lead to those bigger wins. Now, of course, you're right. When you make recommendations for a facility closure or facility expansion and it doesn't happen, you feel some kind of way. But what I've been able to do, and that's why, Jay, I stay so connected and still do the NRPA board, still do the sessions, because I still get to see you guys and say, well, how is that going? Is there anything else I can help you do? And that's what I do love about being at Barry Dunn. We want clients for life. So we're here to help navigate even after we're gone.
Gotcha.
Well, I'll stick with the consulting theme, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I don't know if you want to answer this question or not, but is there an agency that you've worked with that going into it, maybe you didn't know a lot about them, but when you left that project or initiative they were working on, you were like, they are killing it. They're going to be one of the best in our industry?
When I first joined Barry Dunn, the first project that I worked on was the City of Raleigh Parks,
Okay.
Recreation, and
Yeah.
Cultural Resource. Wow. I was
Yeah.
truly impressed with the work that the team has done. Stephen has really pulled together some phenomenal work. That was a great experience because, I'm in Virginia. So to be able to see the work that Raleigh was doing behind the scenes and what they were building, that was wonderful for me. I absolutely adore that. Right now, I'm in a 55 plus community, like literally the average age is 75 years old. Okay. And I
What's
am
the
blown
name? I
away.
need that for my the
I will
guys
send
saying
it to
getting
you
old.
because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking for a house.
Look at
But
that.
the fact that this recreation means so much to them, Jay, we have had in 2 weeks when we first put their website out, over 11,000 comments and hits from individuals 75 and older, because that's how much their golf, their pickleball,
Mhm.
and their recreation centers mean to them. So that to me is so motivating that, yeah, Raleigh is great. They're foundational. They were just, updating their plan and still seeing the great work. But to now be in a community, this is their first plan like this. And so it's like I get to hang out with some old friends, but then get some new friends and
Yeah.
then mix in some of what I've learned. Like years ago, I was a part of the senior services of Southeastern Virginia. Like when I was like 27, doing Meals on Wheels and understanding health, nutrition, and combining that to recreation. So when clients feel like, okay, she's only in her 50s, but I understand the importance and what the needs are for an aging community. It makes a difference. So yeah, I go into every one of these projects like everyone is my favorite. I promise you. Everyone's my favorite.
So, well, hell, the olds have all day to comment on those comments. So, of course, you're going to get a lot.
You know what? Really sad.
um, I would think the cool thing about being a consultant. Now, I don't love flying, but I do love seeing other cities and kind of experiencing because every city's unique, even ones
The
that people
foods,
right they
yes,
take
the
for
landscape.
granted. So, what city had a spot where you ate at? Or maybe it was a spot that you saw, maybe it was a serene spot, whatever, that you can't wait to go back.
Oh, you would ask that hard question right there. Because Rich Newman, one of my colleagues, man, he's our food guru. So like whenever we're going to a community, his job is finding food. Well, the town of Leesburg has this small restaurant, town of Leesburg here in Virginia. I'm project managing for them, and we went in and we went to the Flying Biscuit. And man, I've
Okay.
never seen a biscuit. That biscuit was almost the size of my head. And I eat like a bird, so I'm only gonna eat half of it and take the rest back to the room. But man, that was the best gravy and biscuit I ever had in my life. So I can't wait when I go back there in April to get
The
that biscuit.
Flying Biscuit sounds like a haunt Jay or Tom would find on someone of we go and those two guys are always sourcing a place for us to eat. And the Flying Biscuit sounds like a place that they would have on the name of their list for sure.
And you can lay anything on that biscuit. It'll blow your mind.
So for the record, we have Flying Biscuits here in Charlotte, and it would fit the mold of places that we go to.
Okay. Shane loves his biscuits too.
I do.
Yeah,
I love a biscuit.
So Lakita, I got one more, and just from that same maybe in that same vein, I really enjoy talking about travel as well. Is there a place that you haven't been? Because you've been to a lot of different areas in the country. Is there somewhere you haven't been that you're looking forward to exploring, whether again personally or for the for consulting piece?
I wish I could show you guys. I have a map that's on my office wall that I keep up mainly for my family and my grandkids to see the different places I've been able to go. So I'm looking over there at the map, and I mean, I really need to get into Oklahoma. I
Okay.
need to get into Montana, man. I want to see the mountains. I want to see the beauty of Montana. I've been to Utah a few times. I have a couple of projects there. If you've never been, you need to go. But I need to do more in that part of the country. So like Montana, Idaho, New Mexico, and Kansas and Oklahoma. So
Okay.
those are on my list that don't have little pins in them that I want to get into.
Norman
And
invited
Yeah.
Alaska.
Oh,
Norman invited us to present as RecLess, and Jay said, I don't work in flyover states, but Tom and I went, and we thought Oklahoma was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And so we've got contacts for you if you'd want.
Thank
But
you.
Jay only works on East Coast, West Coast. He's not a flyover state guy. That's not what he does.
No, I don't even know how we got him to Wisconsin. But yeah.
I was gonna say, what does
Oh.
Wisconsin count then?
Oh,
It's the border of something else.
What about
There's a lake
Texas?
there or something. No, we're not allowing you in Texas.
No, I'm saying I was there for NRPA though,
That
and we did speak.
was a mistake.
Oh, see what I have to deal with, Lakita.
I love it. You guys have great energy.
Oklahoma's a good one too. A lot of charm that you just I
We went
wouldn't
to a
know.
little place, Tom, and
Yeah,
saw
we did.
a
Barry
legend.
Switzer. We
Saw Barry
did.
Switzer
Oh,
eating lunch. Yeah.
I love it.
Good stuff.
Well, Lakita,
Thanks for
thank you
that.
so much for spending the time with us. This was awesome, as I
Yes.
knew it would be. You're always a pleasure to talk to, and you're just continue doing amazing things and make an influence on so many people. And love seeing all the women in parks grow even further and to where we would have never ever imagined it 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
That's
thank
awesome.
you guys for allowing me this space. This was awesome to just talk and keep doing the work, keep having the hard conversations and inviting people up here so that we can keep our profession as great as it is. I love it. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I don't know about you guys.
No,
Same.
Yes.
I mean, I could imagine having a different host other than Shane, maybe, but
No.
not doing a different job.
Nope. He's stuck with me, Lakita.
Lakita could fill in really well.
I love it. You guys are great. Well, if I can ever do anything, you know where I'm at. And I just can't wait to see the great things that come out of this podcast. And I will be posting it right on our website and in our Facebook group so that people can hear all the greatness that I was surrounded by on this great Friday.
Love it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
All
Lakita.
right,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.
Bye, Lakita.
Bye.
Good stuff.
She's great.
She really is. She's a rock star. And I mean, there's probably so many different areas of the field we could have gone with.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we dove into, Women in Park. I'm glad we dove into some of the consulting and just overall just leadership and culture, and just her drive is just, it's impressive.
Well, no one's ever had a
political
bad
economy.
day with Lakita. Like, you
No.
don't see people
Yeah.
not smiling. She's so energetic. She just inspires you in so many ways. Like, you don't have bad days around her. I doubt she even allows it, just her energy alone.
Yeah, Lakita could talk to anything.
Yep.
And if you've noticed in conversations, either obviously if you were listening, you can definitely sense that. So well spoken, great with her words. But I've had conversations with her at the conferences, and it's just they kind of organically happen and can talk to literally anything in this field and beyond.
Okay.
And you talked about the energy. I think Lakita's the first guest ever to unmute during our
And laugh.
pre-show banter
And laugh.
and laugh out loud.
Yeah, that was great. That was
awesome.
She's one of those, like we were talking about with Dirk, when you're talking to her, you
Yeah.
feel like you're the only person in the world that,
Yeah.
and she's stretched because she's board directors and all this other stuff. But when you see her at NRPA, the couple minutes you're talking to her, no, you're the most important person in that space, which is really special.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I was on a little Zoom with Meredith
Zoom.
today.
Little
It was
Zoom.
a small group, and Meredith Lawrence was there, and it's funny, just a comparison to another wonderful, great person that Lakita has a lot of the same energy. We were on, and Jody Adams was on there, and Meredith texted me, and she said, "Is Jody Adams not the most positive and just reinforcing individual?" And she is, and so is Lakita. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. Some individuals are cut from an amazing cloth like that, and yeah, glad to know those two people.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Well, good times, guys. Happy Friday. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Okay.
All right,
It's up.
see you next
Jay's up again
time.
next time.
Oh, yeah, I got one more next week.
And then he's done.
And he's
That's what
quitting.
he's fixing to say. Peace out. See you next time.
See you next time.
We love to give back to the community that we're so passionate about. We do that by providing scholarships to professionals to attend conferences they may not otherwise be able to attend. That's where you come in, sponsorships. If you are interested in a sponsorship, we'd love to connect with you. So this spot could be yours. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.